So welcome everybody to our employability event at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. My name is Claire Bainan. I'm the Talent Attraction Manager for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And welcome to all my wonderful colleagues today who are going to help you fire up your employability. So whilst I fire up the presentation, I'll maybe just get everyone just to quickly introduce themselves. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. Claire, do you want to go first, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. So I'm John Thompson. I'm the Group Fleet Strategy Manager in London and the South East. And I joined Enterprise 21 years ago in July. And yeah, happy to be here.
Brilliant. And then, John, you are part of our Enterprise Committee. Would you like to talk a little bit about your involvement with Enterprise and what Enterprise sort of represents?
Yeah, so many years ago now, it's probably more than a decade ago, I got involved in the diversity strand for LGBT plus. And back then, you know, we were just really at this kind of start of, you know, getting involved in supporting, you know, large scale events, Pride events, like Pride in London and Brighton Pride. And yeah, it's developed massively since then, you know, in terms of a, you know, a network, a wider influence on, you know, company policy and so on. But yeah, it's, yeah.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Thanks for that, John. And Tommy King, no less. So we'd like to introduce yourself, Tommy.
Yes, I am Tommy King. I'm an assistant manager in Manchester in the northwest side of the country. I'm also part of the Enterprise Committee that John was just speaking about, but I also head up the committee for the northwest, so for our 750 employees. And unlike John, I've only been at this company for 2 years, well, nearly 3 years now. So I'm still quite fresh.
Brilliant, Tommy. Thank you very much. I will go last. And I'm going to say it by no means least. My name is Jamie Wolfe. I'm a talent acquisition specialist for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I too, like John, I've worked here for many years. I've worked at Enterprise for 18 years and done lots of different roles in operations, and now find myself in the warm embrace of the HR family. So thank you for joining us for this session. We're going to walk you through some really impactful and really interesting sort of ideas around firing up your CV, getting ready to get back out there in this post-COVID world. And we'd love questions. We'd love questions, especially on a beautiful Friday like today. So any questions, pop them in the chat and we'll answer them for you. I'll also pop a URL link into the chat. Feel free to register on that link, and that basically leaves your details with us, and then we can contact you about the fantastic careers opportunities we have available at Enterprise. So I'm going to hand you back to my colleague Claire now.
Perfect, thanks Jamie. And actually I can't currently share my slides. So I've just asked Sheena for a bit of assistance there. So we could maybe crack on without them, or just give me, or you can maybe just asking some questions to Tommy and John whilst I'll just liaise with Sheena to get that back. Okay, so
that's fine, Claire. So what we'll do then is we ran a session like this earlier in the week, so I've got some questions which were posed during that session. So I'll put some of those questions to Tommy and to John, who are both with us today from the Enterprise Committee. So you're both on mute, so come off mute before I ask the question.
I'm off mute.
Really awkward 2021 moment when I say you're on mute. So our first question to you, Tommy. So you've been obviously you've been at Enterprise for around 2 years. Can you just talk us through your journey, your career journey, very briefly? But then also, I know that you are head of the Northeast sort of Enterprise Committee in your sort of region, and I know there's some fantastic things you did during LGBT plus History Month. So I'd love to hear about some of the activities which you sort of spearheaded up there in the Manchester area.
Yeah, cool. So you're taking away my slides, Jamie. I'm not going to have anything to say later on.
Sorry, I'm concerned we might not get the slides back. That's why I'm asking.
So I started in 2018 with the company, as everyone does as a graduate management trainee. I actually, when you start the company, you get like a folder, or as now it's sort of all online and digitally, and you have like your stages, stage 1 to 4, etc. And then you do your test. I fast tracked it all because I was so hungry to be promoted. And I think I did my MQI, which is like an in-house test, in 6 months. And then I got scouted out from the area manager of Manchester Airport, who dragged me over there, and I did a summer in Manchester Airport, which was a completely different kettle of fish. After that, I was then promotable to assistant manager. So Brilliant. I went to our Ashton branch, Ashton-under-Lyne in Manchester, and smashed it there. Obviously, COVID hit, and then was working out of like a hub branch. So one of our bigger branches, we all sort of merged into one. And then now I've been promoted to a 250 car store, so one of our biggest branches in Manchester, and I work in Altrincham. Fantastic. So that's my journey so far.
And obviously, so just for those, may I ask, Tommy, what did you study?
Oh, here we go. So I studied comedy writing and performance at the University of Salford. I got a first class. It doesn't mean I'm funny. It just means I know what's funny. But yeah, that was a really fun degree. It is a real degree as well. Not many people do think that. But no, yeah, it was good. And I know it's not sort of where I am now, but I sort of take comedy and do it in my spare time. So I do stand-up. I write my own sort of musical songs and things like that. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Fantastic. And then do you want to just touch upon briefly then the some of the really exciting things that you sort of got involved with during the LGBT History Month, which Enterprise so eloquently and successfully promoted with Enterprise?
Yeah, it was great. So when I first started in the company, I knew we had, because obviously Enterprise is the overall for the company sort of thing. And because we break up into groups, I knew we had a committee, and I didn't hear much of it. So I was like, right, I'm taking charge on this. I said, we're doing all these fantastic things like Manchester Pride, etc. But now it's time to hone it in. Let's do things for our own employees, because that's what was important to me. Obviously, I've never been in a position where I've had to come out at work. I've always just been comfortable for people asking questions and things. So I think it's important, and what I still strive to do today is just making our workplace even more diverse and inclusive than it already is. And in achieving that through Pride Month, I put on in Manchester and Liverpool in our area, I put on an event a week. So our presentation.
Fantastic. Right, guys. Hold that thought. There's more to come. And by the way, for those, thank you for tuning in and listening to us talk. John is super interesting. We nearly got to him. So stay where you are, and we're going to hear from John shortly. So I'm going to hand you back to my colleague Claire. Welcome back, Claire.
All right. Yeah, thanks, guys, for having that chat ahead of me trying to figure out why my slides weren't uploaded. But we got here. So welcome. As I said, I'm Claire Bailin. I'm the Talent Acquisition Manager for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, looking after the marketing team. And today, we're hopefully, as Jamie's probably already mentioned, going to give you some really top tips on how you're going to fire up your employability when you're looking for those opportunities. I don't know if any of you have heard of Enterprise before today. You may have seen our vans around our branches. Did I ever leave university dreaming of car rental for a living? No, I did not. So we just want to kind of share what we're actually about, because I have really no interest in vehicles, but really it's about our development opportunities, which is really important. So let's just start by just sharing a little bit about who we are. So Enterprise Rent-A-Car is a family-owned business, of a world-leading mobility provider. So we are the biggest mobility provider out there. And I think this slide really just shows you the scale of how big our organization is. So, as I said, when I was leaving university, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Probably didn't, used my career service as much as I should have done to get some help and advice. But what really attracted me to Enterprise is the fact that I wanted to work for a big organisation that had presence in lots of different countries, and really the opportunity to join a programme where I would be exposed to all areas of running a business before being able to manage my own business. And how cool to do it within a family-owned company that has that family feel. So although we're as big as we are today, we really have that family kind of culture, and that's really important to me, to feel like I'm part of a really great network. So we've grown to the size of the business we are today. As you can see, over 9,500 locations, and that has been through our world-leading customer service. It's all been based on having amazing employees that go through this really incredible development program. Okay, so just about what we do, what is our commodity? Well, again, this slide really kind of shows you some of the great vehicles that we do offer to our customers. A rental from as little as half an hour through our Car Club brand, through to our commercial division, which is Enterprise Flexi Rent. Whatever your need as a customer, we're able to supply a very bespoke program. And, you know, working with lots of different big organizations and the retail customer that comes into our stores, you know, it's really great to have this big value proposition. So this is our commodity. This is what we provide to the customer. But today we're going to learn a lot more about the development program and the fact that you can reach your potential in business without a business degree. And we're going to kind of talk about some of those opportunities later on when Tommy and John tell their story. So I'm going to hand over now to my wonderful colleague, Jamie, who's going to start with talking about how best to grow your network, certainly digitally, which is really important right now. And then we're going to get some top tips on the actual interview. And then you're going to get to talk to a few of our employees in the business and just hear their story. So over to you, Jamie.
Thank you very much, Claire. And I remember to come off mute. So all is going well today. So I want to talk a little bit about growing your network. Networking, we hear about this all the time, and people tell us it is vital to grow our networks. But why and how do we grow a network? So I'm going to hopefully shed some light on that. I work within the recruitment industry and have done for many years. So my day-to-day is interviewing and networking. So hopefully I can share some insights. Could I have the next slide, please, Claire? Brilliant. So first and foremost, one of the byproducts of COVID, it's been a horrendous year for us all for lots and lots of reasons. But lots of companies, ourselves included, have managed to move and be agile and nimble and pivot to be able to provide virtual internships, competitions, virtual leadership development sort of programs. So there are lots of things out there that you can do in your spare time or during those downtimes. So I would 100% recommend getting involved and getting yourself out there with as many extracurricular activities that you can do. Now, what's interesting is we've seen the development of these programs, and more than often you'll get an e-certificate or an e-badge for completing said programs. What a great way to network and to shout about how amazing you are by sharing your e-certificate or e-badge across your network platforms. And again, thinking about those employers such as ourselves that are really proud of the indexes that they're part of and the graduate recruitment positionings they have within the various rankings and industry standard organizations. Again, getting involved with one of those organizations that promote these opportunities is a great way to really promote yourself. So obviously, I'm not going to bore you with all the various platforms out there, because as I was learning this morning, talking to some amazing potential candidates, there's new ones coming out every single day. But this is where we're going to start. First and foremost, get yourself out there, get yourself known. Okay, next slide, please, Claire. Okay, so this is a continuation of some of the pieces I've just been talking about. And one thing I would say is there's a lot of information accessible to us as employers and to you as potential candidates. Now, places like Glassdoor, Rate My Placement, review sites, super informative and super important. It's important you approach such sites with eyes wide open, because people can leave reviews for any company in any industry from any perspective. What you do get by reading these platforms and the reviews is you learn about the company from the employees, and it's a great place to start. It also offers an insight into the culture of a company and potentially the recruitment process you can prepare. And also look at job boards. Think about the jobs that are getting advertised. Speed to market in application is critical. If you want to be employed, get excited about employability. Okay, next slide, please, Claire. So, question for you. I think we'll see if anyone's out there. The chat's open, so please feel free to chuck in the chat the last time you updated your LinkedIn profile. And it's an interesting question because your LinkedIn profile is ever evolving. As you attend things such as this fantastic festival and celebration of National Student Pride 2021, it's a great thing to talk about. It's a great thing to promote. And I can see some bits popping in the chat, so it's fantastic to see that people have been updating their LinkedIn profiles and looking at how they come across and they're perceived, and it's super important. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you, talk to you a little bit about that. So some top tips. These are Jamie Wolfe's Friday afternoon top tips on digital networking. So first and foremost, build, update, and cleanse your digital profile. Make sure that people see what you want them to see about you. Because let's not forget, a digital profile is like a CV. It's like that letter of application. It's your potential employer's first insight into you as a person. What does it tell you about me? What can I see about you from looking at your profile? Be strategic, set goals, think about what you want to achieve. Where do you want to work? What industry do you want to get into? Tailor your approach. Make sure you're constantly reviewing it and assessing your profile. Identify key influencers. Look at people that are influential in the industry or sector you want to work in. Follow those people, learn about what they're getting excited about, and then you can potentially learn something and replicate some of that knowledge. Do your research and always connect. There's nothing more satisfying as a recruiter when you invite somebody to an interview and you get that LinkedIn request in addition to the acceptance of the interview. It's just so comforting to know that they've spent the time to find you on LinkedIn, connect with you, and it offers two things. One, both the candidate and the interviewer get to have an insight of both parties, and you also have another method of communication. Again, don't go in straight away. If you're approaching people for advice, try and build a bit of rapport and make the connections and sort of just let the relationship develop over time on that digital platform. And last but not least, the key point is follow up. Make sure you follow up with people to ensure you've accepted invites, you've accepted interview information, and both parties in the interview process are fully aware of what's going on. Super, super important. Okay, next slide, please, Claire.
And sorry, Jamie, just to add to that, for those that are listening in, as recruiters, which is our day job, this is the one platform where we talk about LinkedIn that we use to check you out, to connect with you, to find you. You know, we're actually searching for talent on LinkedIn every day. So I think, you know, just fantastic advice is, you know, think about how you're going to use it to build your network, and also build your network with those in the organization that maybe aren't the recruiters, just to maybe find out a little bit more when you're doing your research about an organization. So
brilliant. Thank you, Claire.
No worries.
Now, there's a little sort of off-shot picture of one of my colleagues' profiles. But what I'd recommend you do is go after the session, go away and connect with John, Tommy, myself, Jamie Wolfe, and Claire, and have a look at mine and Claire's profiles. We spend a lot of time and effort making sure our profile is attractive, that it'll attract talent. Look at the things we've got in there. And one top tip, again, I said there'd be a few top tips here today. Another top tip is you get a rating based on the information in your profile. My minimum standard for you today, for somebody looking to fire up your employability, will be to obtain an all-star rating. That means you've filled in all of the fields on your profile, and you've got a really active profile that's going to be well regarded by somebody potentially looking to employ you or give you that opportunity. You can connect with us today. My colleague Claire is going to pop into the chat a URL link where you can leave your details with us. By doing that, we can then send you any jobs or any sort of opportunities that arise as they come. You can also scan this QR code on the screen, but we're going to move to the next slide, so that QR code is going to disappear. So the link's going to go in there. Another thing I'd recommend is LinkedIn Learning. It's a free service that LinkedIn operate and run. You can basically use LinkedIn Learning through your Google browser or any other web browsers that are available, and you can basically build your profile from scratch. And I'm going to tell you something now. I helped my friend's grandfather build a LinkedIn profile, for no other reason, just because he wanted to. And if I can help my friend's 82-year-old grandfather with LinkedIn Learning create a profile, I'm sure you guys can do it as well to good effect. So it's just a great tool that a lot of people don't utilize, and it is a free service and something that really helps you build your learning. Okay, next slide, please, Claire. And again, there's that connect with us QR code again. And again, we do want you to connect with us. So connect with LinkedIn, connect with us on the URL that we shared, and hopefully we can offer some opportunities in the future.
Perfect. And because I'm sharing slides, Jamie, I can't have access to the chat currently or see. So if you wouldn't mind, maybe when someone else is presenting, put the link in there. And what we'll also do is share our LinkedIn link. So you can go into the chat and link in with us directly on LinkedIn. So I think that might be a good idea to make it easy for the audience.
Brilliant.
Perfect. So thanks, Jamie. Got some good top tips there. Honestly, we get at Enterprise so many applications every day for our opportunities, and it's really about how are you going to make yourself stand out from the next person. And it starts with networking, and it starts with connecting with us on LinkedIn, chatting to us via LinkedIn. So when we do get to your interview or we do see your application, we already know who you are. So there's some really great tips there that you've shared. So thanks so much, Jamie, for that. Okay, so then say you do get an interview with a company or with Enterprise. Jonathan, can you talk us through some of the top tips you might have to stand out in that interview?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Claire. So yeah, how to stand out in an interview. Here's an application process. This is the Enterprise application process. So once you've identified that great company to apply for, you might be going through a process such as this. So maybe an online application. And it's really important to make sure you fill out all the fields, get as much information on there as possible, give context to you, your experience, background, your character, everything. There are quite a few applications that come in, I understand, that are a little sparse in areas. So, just that's something to, to definitely work on. The second stage, which has changed since COVID, because before this would be a face-to-face interview in an office environment, now is a virtual interview. So we'll touch on that in a little bit more detail in a moment. Then in our process is a branch visit. So this is a chance to engage with employees, showcase your skills and experiences, and connect with some of the other people you might be working with. And then all being well, you'll be successful. You'll be given the keys to your management training program, and then you can embark on your new career.
Perfect. And I think probably back when we were hired, we had an assessment centre, but we actually took that out of our process when COVID came. And so it's certainly a shorter process, and not having to go through that scary assessment centre, I think, is quite a big positive. Yeah.
Those big group sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, so just going back to the virtual interview. So the first thing, and obviously some of you may have seen that I had some technical difficulties in getting into this call today. So, check your tech. Make sure that you've got you've checked your sound quality and the space. I mean, many of us are coming in from home. I'm at home. I think Tommy's at home there. Jamie's at home, probably all at home. So, a lot of us don't have our own office, right? So is it going to be in a shared space? Do we need to let people know that you need the privacy? They could, obviously, a lot of us have got other, people at home, kids, dogs, all sorts of things could get in the way. So try and minimize the impact of, interruption, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Also, some platforms don't support the web browsers don't support Teams or Zoom. So check that. You know, I think you need Edge or Chrome. Often are the two that do support them. So, you know, check for that. Oops. Sorry, just moving on. Now, sorry.
Do you want me to go to the next slide?
Yeah, no, I was just saying to the other thing that I was just thinking about removing distractions. And the other thing that my my husband constantly does is order stuff on Amazon. So, you know, you're in a really important meeting and you get constant deliveries from Amazon. And I'm not joking. It's a sort of inside joke now with the rest of my team that when the doorbell goes, that's what's being delivered. So that's the kind of thing, you know, try and like minimize that kind of interruption in the interview.
That's a great point. And sorry, I just interrupt there. In terms of like distractions, I've had cats across keyboards during an interview. I've had somebody at university with their one of their friends who's sharing the same kind of probably the same flat, just appear in their dressing gown. And I've also had a candidate in a shower cap, probably didn't realise they were on camera and still had the shower cap on during the interview. So yeah, I think kind of checking the your camera, knowing that your camera's going to be on and knowing ahead of time that you're going to be expected to go on camera versus using just the mic, I think is really important. So I just wanted to share some recent experiences.
Absolutely. And finally, of course, practice. Because once you think you're ready, you probably need to practice a little bit more. So going on to the next slide now. So dress to impress. Now, whilst it's a virtual interview, it's as important to dress in a professional manner as it would be for a face-to-face interview. Now, of course, this is the section that we're most interested in. But to be honest with you, when I had an interview last year, I put on a good pair of shoes because for me, that makes me feel like I'm focused on the job in hand. You know, it kind of puts me into that, I'm now in work mode. I saw a colleague of ours, he tweeted actually that he sprays a bit of aftershave, you know, when he's going into an important meeting. And it's a weird thing, but it's just kind of gets you in the right frame of mind for that virtual space. Obviously, you know, I think one of the things that comes over, I think, especially as, you know, as students, as you go into that sort of interview scenario, is that you are you're afraid of losing your own personality and character when you go into that business situation. And I think that the point I want to make here is really that once you get those basics right, your own character and personality can come through. And, you know, your interviewer still wants to really see that personality. Yeah, so that will work well for you. So going on to that final slide, the next point here is to do your research. So before you go into that interview, you need to have done some research on the company and what kind of values and moral compass they might have. Think about how some of your own experiences might, you know, jibe with those and where you might have some synergies so you can kind of position yourself with some of these values. These are for enterprise, and enterprise was a bit of a trailblazer in kind of creating this sort of moral compass behind, you know, a big corporate organization. So for example, personal honesty and integrity are the foundation of our success. Customer service is a way of life. So we're kind of wrapping everything around the customer in what we do. It drives decision making, and we're thinking about that all the time in everything that we're doing. From a personal perspective, great things happen when we listen to our customers and to each other. For me, this was really important because I felt like I wasn't always listened to prior to working for Enterprise. And I certainly have felt that, you know, during my career, and being able to kind of influence, you know, big decisions and policy. And like we just touched on before with, you know, being involved in the LGBT, or as we call now, enterprise diversity team, has enabled me to influence some of the things going on there as well. Even things like, you know, company policy on employee benefits, you know, so you can really make a huge impact. And I think you can really make these kinds of careers your own as you kind of carve your own path through.
And I just wanted to touch on, sorry, John, but our doors are open, and that relates to, I think sometimes our employees feel that it means that our physical doors are open, which they are, but it does relate to around, diversity, inclusion, ensuring that we have a workforce that mirrors the communities we operate in. And I think it's really important that you come to work as your authentic self and feel comfortable within that environment. So I think as you are interviewing, just make sure whatever company you go for, whether it's enterprise or another company, know the values and make sure they mirror your values, and you're happy with those values, because I think that's really important, because they really do define the culture of the business and the organization. So yeah, really good tips there, John. Did you want me to move on, or?
Yeah,
Sorry.
absolutely. Yeah, that was the finishing point. Over to Jamie.
Yeah, could you just move the slides on, please, Claire? I think we're if you just click through.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the slides are moving on the screen.
Oh, I don't know. It says I'm on which slide can you see? I'm on Be Authentic and Engage.
I can see Check Your Tech.
I can see Be Authentic and Engage.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
So, this has been a great learning curve.
Right, Jamie, we're on Who has heard of Star Technique?
Star Technique, yeah.
I think he's just rejoining.
Oh, is he? Okay,
Yeah,
I'll carry on, and then he can catch it when he wants to. But is that okay? So in terms of the STAR technique, we just recommend this as a way of answering questions. So again, when you're preparing for your interview, you're identifying, say, the competencies that the organization's looking for. You will be asked questions in your interview, and your questions will be around those competencies typically. So for us, we have 6. We have customer service, leadership, communication. So just think about the competencies that the business is looking for. Think about the questions that you might get asked. So typically, if we're going to assess you on customer service, you're going to get a question about, tell me about a time when you've delivered excellent customer service, or tell me about a time when you've had to deal with a difficult customer. So we would always recommend using the STAR technique to answer those questions. So the STAR technique means that when you answer the question, you talk about the situation, which is the S, you talk about the task in hand, which is the T, you talk about the action that you took, which is the A, and you talk about the result. So essentially, you're telling a story. It keeps you on track when you're answering questions. So when you're answering those questions, you might say, well, the situation was I had a customer, I was waiting on in a restaurant, they complained. So the action that I took is that I gave the customer a free glass of wine. I apologized, went back to the kitchen, got a revised dish for the customer, and the result was that they were really happy, and actually they came back again and recommended the restaurant to their friends and family, and now he comes in every week for a meal because of the great customer service that I delivered. And that is a perfect answer to a customer service question using that STAR technique. So we have blogs on our website that kind of elaborate on this, but just wanted to kind of share that as another top tip when you're in an interview.
I think it's an amazing point, well made, Claire. And for me, with the STAR technique, it's all about telling a story with words. Often when people answer questions, especially when those dreaded nerves take over, and it's okay to have nerves. Nerves are a chemical reaction to imbalances in our body. We all suffer from nerves in some way, shape, or form. And by employing the STAR technique, it allows the brain to reset and revert to something that you practice, something that you're familiar with. And I find myself that it really helps me slow down in pressure situations. And I often use the STAR technique in business meetings when I'm formulating an argument or response to a question, and I position it in that method and use those really systematic buckets to get my points across. And I myself personally would say it's a great technique to use if you do suffer sometimes from a little bit of nerves or a little bit of stress ahead of those big interviews.
Okay, so just a final couple of slides is just around, like I mentioned before, be authentic. Nerves can really get the better of you in an interview, but your true personality will come across if you just try and be yourself. Don't pretend to be someone we want you to be. It's about being yourself, being that true person and feeling you'll be authentic when you're engaging with us and others in the business. And then we have it, the STAR technique. So again, we'll share a blog. For those of you that do register with us, we will share some more information because I think it's just honestly, I wish I had this advice when I was looking for opportunities at Enterprise. So, okay, so hopefully that's given you a very quick whistle-stop tour through networking tips and top tips that we would recommend from the many interviews that we conduct at Enterprise. I would now like to introduce you to Tommy. So Tommy's an assistant manager. I'll let you introduce yourself, Tommy, which I think you may have done at the beginning. But for those of you that missed the start, please introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about your journey.
I did briefly touch on it at the beginning, but I've never had my own slides before, so I'm going to milk this for as long as I can. Okay, so my name's Tommy King. I currently live in Manchester with my partner. A little bit about myself and my sort of background when graduating, etc. So I graduated from the University of Salford with a first-class degree in comedy writing and performance. Which doesn't mean I'm funny. It just means I know why things are funny. I must press on that point. I am currently an assistant manager at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I also head up the LGBT committee for about 750 employees, roughly, in the northwest side of the company. But I'll touch upon that a little bit later on. And perfectly timed, click there, Claire. So a little bit about my role. So as an assistant manager, I directly manage four in my branch graduate management trainees. So it's basically my job to ensure that they've got all the tools, etc., to progress, and that I'm helping them along their sort of career journey as well as sort of focusing on my own as well. My role at the moment is currently, I tend to stay in the office a lot because I run the fleet. So by fleet, I mean our cars. So for example, I'm in quite a large branch. I have about 200 cars, and it's just, I basically sit at a computer, allocate cars out, and things like that. The biggest selling point for me joining Enterprise was that it's not just one thing. Like Claire said earlier on, you never leave university thinking you want to go into car rental. But the most attractive thing about this company was how much you can do. Like, I've been at the company for 2.5 years. I've done so much. I've done marketing, I've done finance, I've chased debt, and I've trained my employees and done so much for like the LGBT community. It's crazy how much you can actually get involved in, which is why I'm still around. Moved on. Career journey. Right, let's go.
Let's go.
It's not as long as John's and Claire's, but I'm packing it out. There's a lot going on.
But it's a good slide because it gives everyone a bit of an insight into what our career opportunities are. So did you want to kind of explain what happens from sort of management trainee up to branch manager, and then maybe I can help with the other bits?
Yes, please. This is like a mentor meeting. It's perfect. So a little bit about my journey. I started, as everyone does, as a management trainee in 2018. As explained earlier, did my test. I fast-tracked myself. In the company, you essentially do like a little test, sort of in-house test thing to progress. And I fast-tracked that in 6 months. Obviously, it's down to your own devices. It takes on average 9-10 months, so it is a slight little brag here. But you can do it if you want to. I was then scouted out by an area manager for Manchester Airport, and I was asked to join their team as I was really good at the sales aspect of things, etc. So yeah, did that. Moved over to Manchester Airport. I passed, like I said, my test within 6 months, and then was ready for my assistant manager job, which was in, I think it was September 2019. Worked there for 5-6 months, and then coronavirus hit. She popped in to say hello, and everything happened at once. But yeah, I moved to another branch during the pandemic. because a couple of branches closed down. We was working out of one sort of thing, so moved over to a different branch, and then just been recently promoted to one of our biggest branches in the group in Manchester and Liverpool, with, like I said earlier on, 200 plus cars. So it's much busier now, and it's my next sort of step. So I'm progressing very quickly. Next stop, branch manager. And I'm sure Claire can take over here in regards to the sort of steps. But where I sort of want to go, I want to be ideally a couple of years' time sat where Claire is. So I'll let Claire take you on.
You're after my job. Okay.
I'm coming for you,
It's
Claire.
official. No, it's a great introduction. And I think that's great to explain that management training program, you'll learn in all areas of running a business before you can manage your own. So that training program is really flexible. It's designed to last 10 to 12 months. Tommy obviously is an exceptional employee and did it in 6. And if you are driven and motivated to be successful, you absolutely can do that. So all of a sudden now, Tommy has responsibility for a team of people, a fleet of vehicles, and he's really targeted on growing the business, delivering great customer service, looking after his employees, and ultimately making money, because we actually get paid commission off the profits we generate at our branch. So it's very unique, and you have, real kind of control. It's almost that feeling of running your own business, but Enterprise gives you the startup cost to be able to do that. And as Tommy said, his next step is branch manager. So again, he will ultimately be responsible for running his own business, and then again, having his own company car, his team of people, his own assistant manager, and really having that autonomy of running his own branch. And then from there, as you can see from this diagram, there's lots of different routes that you can go down. I actually went from branch manager into a training and development role, and then into a HR manager role. So my route went slightly kind of went into the HR side of things, but then you've got business to business sales, you've got vehicle repair, you've got risk. We have a promote from within culture. So ultimately, when we're looking for a leader within the business in any of these areas, we're only looking at our own employees to promote into those roles, which is great because it means there's always opportunities. Now, I also went from HR manager and went back into that linear path of operations into an area manager role. And again, that's the beauty of the business. It's that kind of lattice approach rather than just that ladder approach to your career. You can really develop in lots of different areas of the business, and you then can go on to that kind of focus path into a vice president, general manager role, where you're essentially a director of the business. So thanks for sharing your journey, Tommy. Did you want to talk a little bit more about other things that you get involved with other than working in the branch? What other extracurricular stuff do you get to do?
I certainly can. So, as mentioned earlier, I do head up the committee for the Northwest side, the LGBTQ plus committee. There is one over the whole company in the UK that's called Enterprise, but obviously we want to sort of make sure all our employees' voices are being heard, should I say. So we sort of break down into our groups. So everyone in Manchester and Liverpool will know someone who is a representative of the LGBTQ plus committee. So I think that's really nice that we have that sort of network. So as mentioned, I do head up that committee for all of our employees. I think there's like 18, 19 committee members now in Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham way. And that just means I get to take control and run my own events internally. Which I think was mentioned earlier. I told you, Jamie, I'd run out of things to say because I've already said it all. But no, through LGBT History Month, I took lead on making sure every Friday we had an event. So I think the first week was LGBT Bake Off. So all of our employees, all of our allies, our gay, straight, lesbian, bisexual employees just got involved. We all brought homemade cakes, I think someone brought bread in as well. It was just such a fantastic day. And we put all the money and raised it towards charity. Like the following Friday, we had the Rainbow Laces Day. So everyone came in rainbow laces, which looked great because everyone was in a suit with suit shoes and then just some big rainbow laces. It was fantastic. And then we had a Rainbow Day. So everyone came in some really bright, big, bold colours. And the main point of it all is I think we raised over £1,000 just in that month for the LGBT Foundation. So that's one of the biggest reasons why, like I say, I am still and I am so invested in building a career at this company, is because you can get involved in anything, and you can also take lead and put your passion into something that you're so passionate about. Did that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that like everyone's on board. This is everyone gets involved, don't they? Senior leaders in the business,
100%.
you know, and we just have lots of fun celebrating as well.
Yeah, that's the best thing. Everyone gets involved, and everyone is so supportive, and literally just if you come up with a great idea, someone will be behind you and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, we miss
Pride. Sorry, Claire, go on.
No, I was going to say we missed the Pride events, and we can't wait to get back to them in in person, which hopefully is going to be back in September when we get back started. I know. Sorry, Jamie, go on.
No, so that was it's perfect segue into one of the questions in the chat that was asked earlier. So probably a question to yourself, Tommy. Given the fact that you work in like the local operations, and the question, I'll paraphrase it. Essentially, is it okay to be out right down to the small enterprise branches? Do all staff have D&I inclusion training? So the second part of the question I can answer, yes, there's a real sort of rich base of D&I training and sort of awareness of all the diversity strands. But I think, Tommy, you just highlighted the fact that it is a local-led, employee-led kind of strategy, if you like.
Yeah, for sure. And just to answer the first bit of that, is it okay to be right? I'm always right. Is it okay to be out right down to the small enterprise outlets? I could not think of anything worse than working for a company and not being out. I can't remember what it's like, should I say, when I was in the closet of not being able to be myself. That sort of terrifies me now. Like, I can't imagine going to work, and bearing in mind, we'll do sort of 40-hour weeks and you work with the same people every day. Like, I cannot imagine not being myself. So yeah. I just think on that, like, before I joined Enterprise, and one of the reasons that I did apply for it is I did my research before. So I'd Google keywords for companies that was employing people. So I'd type in enterprise rent-a-car diversity, and so much popped up. And that's when I knew that they'd put so much effort into supporting our LGBTQ plus employees, but also BAME employees and stuff as well. And that's why I thought, yeah, let's go for it. Let's apply. And now look at me.
Oh, and it's so true, because, you know, Ash, our director, he came out later on in his career. And it's almost like he felt that he was like living a bit of a lie. Like, well, he was like trying to almost make up a story about what he was doing. You know, how awful to feel that you can't be your authentic self and be open. Like, you know, so I just think that's just great advice, Tommy.
Yeah, fantastic.
So Tommy's
I've really dominated this presentation, haven't I?
So if you could give your top employability tips, which I think you may have already done a few of these throughout, what would they be?
So the most important one was what I've just touched upon. So I won't repeat, time's running out, is being your authentic self. Like I said previously, we do work 40-hour weeks, and nothing actually terrifies me more than not being myself. But another one for me is career fairs. Guys, like, get involved in them. Like, they're so much more important than you think. And brutally, honestly, I didn't really get involved in them. So when I left university, I got a job in a bar, and I was almost having like an existential crisis. I was like, what now? Like, where do I go? And I was just applying for loads of jobs, and I was like really panicking. But these career fairs, like, I've been on a couple of them, and I've been on panel events for universities. They are so important. So just get involved in them in the next couple of months. And yeah, that's Tommy's top tip. I'll let you move on from there, Claire.
We'll tweet that.
Yeah.
And just in terms of connecting with us, like I said, I'm showing my slides right now, so I can't see you, or I can't see the chat, but we will share our LinkedIn connections in the chat. But there's lots of ways that you can connect with us on LinkedIn, on Insta, Twitter, Facebook. You can see YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel. So yeah, please, if you want to explore more, please feel free to go to those channels, or please like message any of us direct. We're more than happy to have a conversation.
Yeah, I've popped the link. I've popped the URL for the graduate careers link in the chat, and I've also popped in. I'm popping in, should I say, links to our LinkedIn profiles. Tommy's in there, mine's in there, Claire's is going in and John shortly. So what a fantastic way to spend an hour on a sunny Friday afternoon with such a wonderful audience and such wonderful presenters. So I think those that have presented and those in the audience, give yourselves all a virtual clap and a virtual pat on the back. I think it's been a brilliant hour. I think we've covered most of the questions in the chat. I've been monitoring the chat as we've been going. There was one question that hadn't been answered, which was all about enterprises expansion over the past past years. So that's maybe one I'm going to put to John, because John's been with us for 20 years and he's seen lots of expansion, and he's in the business of helping us expand by getting us more vehicles. So John, what have you seen just briefly over the last sort of 10, 15 years as we've grown exponentially?
Yeah, it is a fascinating journey. So when I was working for a company before I worked for Enterprise, and Enterprise 21 years ago was known in the kind of in the automotive industry, replacement car business. So it was getting a name for itself with insurance companies and things like that. But in terms of in airports and for leisure customers generally, pretty unknown to be pretty clear. The part of the reason that Enterprise had fast growth is because back in the late 50s, it was started up. So it was a very established company in North America. Millions of vehicles, well, I say millions, about nearly 2 million across the globe now. But even when Enterprise started in the UK, which is back in the late 90s, it had that financial backing. So that made a big difference. And relationships with big manufacturers makes a huge difference. Coming into the UK, back then manufacturers such as Ford were still governed by Ford in the US. So that was a big factor. But yeah, an aggressive growth plan, small amount of acquisition, but very much kind of from the grassroots up, bringing really good people in and building from the ground up, building new branches, neighborhood by neighborhood. And that's gone on, for nearly 25 years now in the UK.
And there's something that I asked before we sort of conclude this session. And John, thanks for sharing that with us. The bit that stands out to me in there is the bit you touched on about the people. It is all about the people. We have grown because of our people. We bring graduates in at the bottom, and we train them up, and we develop them, and we help them grow to be future leaders of our business. And that really has fueled our growth along with everything else. So I think that has pretty much covered the question. I've been just a quick flick through. If there's any final questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and then we'll essentially conclude the session.
I was just going to add, actually, Jamie, if I may.
Of course you may, yeah.
Yeah, just to that previous question about being out in branches, because I have heard that it's a big thing when students get their first job, they get their first, graduate job. Even today, many go back in the closet, so to speak, because of being in that kind of corporate environment. And I just wanted to share that, 21 years ago when I started in a branch, I came out in my first week to my colleagues in the Romford branch in Essex. And it wasn't totally my choice, because it was due to the fact that I had been in this TV program just completely coincidentally, and it aired, and my colleague saw it, the assistant manager, and said, "Oh, hey, I saw that program," and everybody was really, really supportive and fantastic, and I've had a really good experience ever since, in Enterprise. But yeah, I think that sometimes if you can, get the courage to just go ahead and do that, like Tommy said, then I think people will get to know you better and get to know you for who you are, and will accept you for whoever you are. It really doesn't matter.
So thank you so much for sharing that, John. That's and I did not know that. So I after this, I want to know which TV program it was, and I'm going to try and find it.
I think he's still getting commissions from it. He's just plugging his TV program.
Yeah, I'm getting clicks.
Yeah.
Send it over, John.
Yeah, but it's an interesting, very valid point. I mean, someone asked me the other day, what is Enterprise's diversity strategy and policy? And I could read a big, long manifest of information, but it's very simple. Come to work and be your best self, whatever that represents. And it really is. And that is applicable. And I've seen that every day. So, yeah, it really, really, really does resonate, I think, with all of us on this call, on this conversation. So, no, brilliant. Would anybody else like to add anything else from the panel and presenting team? No,
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I just think it's been a brilliant hour. I mean, gosh, I could sit here and chat all day long to each of you and just answer any questions. It's been great. It's nice to see you actually, because I couldn't see you when my slides are up. So thank you so much for kind of giving up your time this afternoon. It's not your day job, John and Tommy. I know that. So thank you so much.
I've got half a day at work. I'm finished now, Claire. Thank you for having me.
I know. It's a bit like, when's the next one?
Literally, next Friday.
So I really appreciate you coming along to the session today. And thanks for being a great host, Jamie.
No, thank you, Claire. Thank you for being a great co-host, and thanks everybody. So feel free to jump off and go and enjoy this lovely Friday afternoon and the weekend. Stay safe, stay engaged, and please do connect with us. We'd love to talk to you further down the line about careers. So thank you very much for attending, and feel free to leave whenever you see fit.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Perfect.
Thanks,
See you later.
everyone.
See you all later.
Bye. Bye-bye.